My name is Selena. This is my last semester here, and today I am going to talk about Frida Kahlo, the artist. I took art history in spring 2015 with Professor Allison Smith, and it has been the most rewarding construct I have ever done, because not only did I know about art, but I learned a lot about my culture, things that I probably haven't been familiar with because I've been away from my country for a long time. So definitely learning more about my culture and about the art that happens in my culture helped me view other things that I didn't know. So I'm going to talk about Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo was the greatest Mexican surrealist in history. She has been a really inspirational woman to other women because she has been a woman that portrays her emotions and her feelings through her artwork. She has been through many accidents, and I'm going to be talking about those next throughout the PowerPoint. She has, because of that really bad accident, she was never able to have kids or form a family, which was one of her biggest dreams. And by the age of 6, Frida Kahlo was diagnosed with polio. And because of that, it caused her to limp the rest of her life. And 1 year before she passed away, she suffered gangrene, and her right foot was actually, it had to be removed because of the polio. So that was one of the events that marked the after minor accidents that would happen. So I will be talking about some of her most important and inspirational portraits she has done. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about her life and what she has done. Magdalena Carmen Frida Kahlo en Calderón was born from a German father and a Spanish mixed with Indian heritage mother. Her mother was Matilde Calderón and her father Guillermo Kahlo. He moved to Mexico, where he married Matilde, and they lived in La Casa Azul, where Frida Kahlo was born and raised. La Casa Azul is actually now a museum in Mexico City, where a lot of people go and visit. I know my boss has gone there, and she brings a lot of cute stuff. She was born on July 6, 1907 in Coyoacán, New Mexico, Mexico. And as I said before, she was diagnosed with polio, and that marked a really tragic event in her life. And then Frida Kahlo is one of the most known surrealists. Although she did not consider herself a surrealist, other artists such as Picasso and other famous artists actually classified her artwork because they thought a lot of her artwork was dreams. But all the things she actually drew were painted. It was more her life. Even though it seems so unrealistic, it's actually what she went through. All her miscarriages, all her tragic events, she portrayed them in artworks. And then now I'm going to move on to the self-portraits, as she has been one of the best self-portraits artists in history, and I'm going to talk about why she has been one of them. Okay. So one famous quote I really like about her is, "I paint myself because I am so often alone." On September 17, 1925, she was in a bad bus accident. She was with her former boyfriend, Alejandro Arias. And the bus was crashed against a wall. And then the bus actually rolled over so many times. And then a pole that was on the bus actually came through her body and came out her pelvis, which caused her to not give birth to any children, which was one of her dreams, give birth to Diego Rivera. At this time, she had met Diego Rivera, and it was kind of a weird crush she had on him, because when you have a crush on someone, it's like, oh, he's really cute. But the crush she had on him was, I want to have a baby of Diego Rivera. Diego Rivera, the famous muralist, was very unattractive, but he was a ladies' man. So this happened when her accident. It came out through her pelvis, which changed the role of her as a mother and as an artist. But one of the nice things about, one of the things that that this accident impacted was her life as an artist. She was bedridden for 9 months on a bed, and she was not able to move. She was only able to move her hands. She had a corset on her body, which, because her spinal cord was really damaged. And then this is when she started painting herself, because this is all she could do. And I'm going to show you a picture of one of her most. And here's when I talk a little bit more of the accident and how she portrayed herself. She not only suffered emotionally, but she also suffered physically. As we can see over here, we can see the pole coming through her pelvis, the corset that she had to use until she died, passed away. She had to use it for the rest of her life. And then on this picture, if we actually look closer at it, we can see the tears coming down her cheeks, because her life was really, really tragic. It has been really upsetting. As she went through all of this, she was never able to have a normal life. She was bedridden in bed for not only her accident, but with polio. She was not able to freely move around. And then one of the really cool things I like about this portrait is how she still stands really strong in the way she's standing, because she was a strong woman. Regardless of all the obstacles she went through in her life, she always managed to keep painting. She always showed her love for her country, for her culture. Even on her last exhibition, she was still there. She was taken by an ambulance and she was in bed, but that was her last exhibition and she was still right there. And then also, a lot of women identified with her, and they really liked it, because in the 20th century, women were not able to expose their bodies like this. They were not able to talk about their miscarriages, because it was part of a woman's life. And I really like the fact that she spoke for other women. She spoke for those women that have been going through a lot of miscarriages, that were not able to have kids, that suffered a lot, and nobody spoke for them. And a lot of other Mexican women identified with her. And many of her self-portraits, she never plucked her eyebrows. She was she dressed as she was. And that's why a lot of other artists identified with her, because she never pretended to be someone else. She dressed in exotic Mexican outfits. She did her hair in an exotic way, and that's what she loved about herself. She never lost her identity, regardless of other people she met throughout her life, such as Diego Rivera. And we can see that over here. So on this picture, Diego Rivera, in 1922, she met him. She was actually going to be a doctor. Because of her accident, her plans had held back, and because she was in bed for 9 months, she was laid off out of the medical school, and she was not able to get back in it, and that really affected her. But it actually made her the artist she is now. She was embedded for 9 months, and her mother, which was the only one that was with her at that time, she placed a mirror on top of her. And Frida, the only thing she could draw was the portrait she saw on top of her. She started painting on little small scales, because she had to be observing to the top and drawing at the same time. And that's why they are one of the most known, she is one of the most known self-portraits in history. She, and this one as well, Diego Rivera. So once she sees Diego Rivera, meets him, 3 years later, she has her accident. And then 4 years later, once she has done a lot of self-portraits, Diego Rivera comes back to Mexico City, and she shows him the artwork, and he evaluates her. So he is the first person that actually reviews and gives her great feedback on her artwork. So since then, Diego Rivera became a really influential person, influential artist in her life. A lot of her artwork was also was also impacted by his artwork. And then Frida Kahlo identified Diego Rivera as her second tragedy because he cheated on her multiple times, not only with other women, but even with her own stepsister. And that really brought Frida Kahlo, it brought her down because she loved him. One cool thing about this relationship is that he was 22 years older than her. And her mom always compared the marriage to the marriage of an elephant and a dove because it's a little thing to a big thing. And you can see the big difference. As I mentioned before, he was not a very attractive guy, but he was a ladies' man. I don't know why, he just was. But he was Frida Kahlo's second tragedy. He really affected her life in the fact that he cheated on her. She was always alone because Diego was so busy with his own artwork. She was left alone. And then Frida Kahlo always wanted a kid of Diego Rivera. And because of all the miscarriages she had, she was not able to give birth to a kid. And that also brought her to depression. They actually, 1 year after they married, they divorced. She fell into depression. She cut all her hair because she wanted to lose her femininity. Through this course of her divorce, she actually became involved with other women, and she was looking for her sexual identity. So she realized that she was bisexual. And in many different actually artworks after this, we can see the erotic appeals that show her attraction towards women. So she has been a woman that has been through a lot, but she's always going back to her portraits and drawing. Now, I'm gonna move on to the next one. So another thing is Kahlo's heritage. The way, when I'm saying is that Diego impacted also a lot of Frida Kahlo's artwork is because Diego Rivera always preferred seeing Frida Kahlo dressed in her authentic Mexican outfits rather than her German. So in this artwork, we can see two Fridas. It's the same Frida, they're just different, they're dressed in different outfits. And one of them, she's dressed as a Victorian outfit and the other one as a Mexican one. In the picture, in the Frida to the right, we can see a broken heart, which represents the rejection that Diego Rivera had on her Victorian outfit. And the other one, we can see her heart that's healthy, and that shows her true love for her country, for her people, and for her culture. On this one, we can see blood, and the blood represents all the events, all the blood, all the miscarriages that she had throughout her life, all the suffering that she has been through. And then the background and many of her self-portraits and other artwork, we can see that you'll never see a lot of sun out there. And this means mostly you can see it in all of her artwork towards the background, that her life was always full of shadows and darkness, and that she rarely saw any hope, but she always managed to keep drawing. She wore very exotic and traditional Mexican outfits, and when she actually married Diego Rivera, she came to America on a visit, and she actually drew she has an artwork where she has an authentic Mexican dress. And then the background, it's all like in the suburb, like back then, the steam out of the boats, those kind of things, which meant a girl, a Mexican girl in a country that she didn't know. And that also impacted the way she actually drew because of Diego Rivera, she was able to attend many art exhibits, and she was able to display her own art to other artists. When she divorced Diego Rivera, she actually went out on her own, and this is what actually brought more attention because she was able to go out there to Paris, where she met a lot of other artists, and they thought her art, they recognized her art, and they celebrated worldwide because it's something that they had never seen before. Unfortunately, they went back together because she really, really loved him, they went back together. But this one was actually painted 3 years after their divorce. She was really upset about everything, and we can see that through all of her artworks. She's always displaying sadness, always what she's feeling and emotions. And this one is the one I'm talking about, her dress in America. She was, as I said before, she always felt lonely when she came with Diego Rivera. That impacted her a lot because she didn't have her family close to her. A lot of her, she also had a miscarriage in America, and Diego was not there to support her. So she had a love for him, but she hated him at the same time. And now, Frida Kahlo was raised in a country where women were not able to show their affection, or they were not able to question anything. But she changed the way women were viewed. Women were viewed as showing their emotions, showing what they felt because of her. In 1953, she was diagnosed with gangrene in her right foot, and they had to remove her foot, and that caused a lot of other surgeries that she went through. On her last exhibition, it was a solo exhibition in Mexico City. She was really sick, but she decided that she still wanted to go. And she actually had an ambulance that carried her all the way to the museum, where all her crowd was out there waiting for her. The museum actually had another bed where she was transported in. And the fans really, really liked it because even though she was really ill, she was right there with them. And then Frida Kahlo, she passed away on July 13, 1954. As I was doing a lot of research, I found out she was cremated, and I tried to do a little bit more research and wondered why. She chose to be cremated because she said in one of her interviews, she had been in a bed for so long, she didn't want to lay anymore. And she wanted to be cremated in front of all of her fans. So it was where all people could see how she was burning. It was it's a really sad ending for her, but she just wanted to feel peace finally. Now, after her death, she has been recognized more worldwide. Her artists, they're really valuable. La Casa Azul is now a museum where all of her artwork is exhibited. And then she has also been recognized by other scholars, the press, and now she's under the greatest masters of portraits as a surrealist as well. So I think she has had a really hard life, but I like the fact that she always kept and stayed there with her dream. She never gave up, regardless of all the tragedies she went through, and identified with her because even though she's in a new place, even though she's always doing new things, she never forgets where she comes from. She always keeps her identity in herself. And when I was trying to find someone over who to do the project over, I was like, well, I don't know a lot of artists. I am not an artist, but I wanted to know more about my culture. And I founded her when I did a little research. And it got to me because I'm also in a new country, and just because I'm here and I'm always trying to do things, I'm always trying to achieve new things, I don't want to lose who I am. I want to keep my identity. I want to learn new things, but also keep what I have. And that's why I chose Frida Kahlo. And her life was really impacting. When I was doing all the research, I was like, whoa, this woman has been through a lot. But it is definitely something that a lot of women go through. And many times we keep it to ourselves and we're not able to say the things that happen to us. As times are changing, I feel like we are able to say more. But back then, she was a very influential person to a lot of women, the way she dressed, the way she painted herself. So I believe that is all. So I definitely have enjoyed this contract. I learned a lot, and I thought it was going to be a really hard topic when I took the art history class, but definitely the honors program has really taught a lot to me. I'm more knowledgeable. I know a lot about my culture. I know a lot about art. So every time I go to a museum, I really like looking at art, because now I don't see just a simple picture. I really try to look what the meaning has. So definitely I encourage people to take art history, whichever professor it is. It's really, really rewarding. So thank you.